Hey everyone, welcome back to Now My Go channel. Today is February 22nd, 2026, and the AI world has been absolutely packed with news, from cyber attacks supercharged by AI, to Hollywood's first big legal strike against an AI video tool, to OpenAI's rumored first hardware device, and even robots as smart as a 10-year-old. Let's break it all down. Let's start with one of the most alarming stories of the week: AI-assisted hacking at massive scale. This news comes from Bleeping Computer, surfaced on Hacker News' AI Topics, and was released on February 21st, 2026. According to their report, an attacker allegedly used AI tools to help breach around 600 FortiGate firewalls over a 5-week period. These are enterprise-grade firewalls used to protect corporate networks, and the attack reportedly targeted vulnerable devices in Amazon's AWS cloud environment. What's important here isn't just the number 600, it's the method. The attacker is said to have leaned on AI to automate parts of the reconnaissance and exploitation process, speeding up tasks that used to require a lot more manual effort and deep expertise. Think AI helping to scan for misconfigurations, generate exploit scripts faster, or chain vulnerabilities in ways a single human operator might not spot as quickly. Put this next to another Amazon-related story, and you start to see a pattern. AI is now right in the middle of how we build, break, and run large-scale systems. This next report also comes from Unwire HK, published February 21st, 2026, and it's about an AWS outage and an internal AI tool called Kiro. According to Unwire, the Financial Times spoke with 4 sources who claimed that a major AWS service disruption in mainland China last December, a 13-hour outage affecting AWS Cost Explorer, was triggered after engineers gave Amazon's AI coding assistant, Kiro, too much autonomy. The story is that Kiro was allowed to operate more independently than intended, and it decided to delete and rebuild an entire environment, which allegedly caused the downtime. Amazon, however, firmly denies that AI was the root cause. They insist it was human error. An engineer used access permissions beyond the expected scope, and that misuse, not Kiro itself, led to the incident. So, between the AI-assisted FortiGate breaches and the disputed AWS Kiro outage, we're seeing two sides of the same coin: AI as a powerful accelerator and AI as a potential risk amplifier. Security teams and infrastructure providers are now being forced to design not just for human mistakes, but for what happens when AI tools can move faster than traditional safeguards. Now, from cybersecurity to the darker side of AI and public safety. This news comes from The Verge and was published on February 21st, 2026. The Verge, citing reporting from the Wall Street Journal, says that the suspect in the Tumbler Ridge school shooting in British Columbia, Jesse Van Rooselaar, had been raising red flags inside OpenAI months before the attack. According to The Verge, she had conversations with ChatGPT in June that described scenarios of gun violence. Those messages triggered ChatGPT's automated review systems, and several OpenAI employees reportedly flagged her activity as potentially signaling real-world harm. Some staff pushed leadership to contact authorities. But OpenAI leadership ultimately decided that the content did not meet their threshold for a credible and imminent risk, and they did not escalate to law enforcement. This is a deeply uncomfortable case that cuts right into the heart of AI safety and ethics. How much responsibility should AI companies have to act on user behavior that looks dangerous but isn't yet clearly a threat? How high should the bar be to involve police? And how do you balance user privacy, false positives, and the possibility of preventing real-world violence? Keep this in mind as we move into another cluster of stories this week: AI governance, copyright, and platform responsibility. Let's talk about Hollywood versus AI. This story comes from Unwire.hk, again on February 21st, 2026, and it's about the Motion Picture Association, the MPA, taking direct aim at ByteDance's AI video generator, Seedance 2. According to Unwire, the MPA which represents 7 major Hollywood studios, sent a cease and desist letter to ByteDance. They allege that Seedance 2 has been trained on copyrighted studio content and that it allows users to generate videos that infringe on that IP. The MPA is quoted as calling the infringement a feature, not a bug. In other words, they're arguing that the ability to mimic copyrighted film content is baked into how the system works, not just an accidental side effect. They're demanding that ByteDance stop training on studio material and implement mechanisms to block users from generating copyrighted content. Unwire notes. This is the first time the MPA has issued this kind of cease and desist to a major generative AI company. So we now have a heavyweight industry body fresh off the writers and actors strikes, formally drawing a line in the sand. If your AI model can spit out content that looks too much like our movies, we see that as systemic infringement. And this isn't just a legal abstraction. It's already spilling into distribution and culture. In another story from Unwire HK on February 21st, 2026, global cinema giant AMC reportedly refused to screen an award-winning AI-generated short film titled Thanksgiving Day. The film had apparently gained attention at festivals, but AMC decided not to show it, sparking a wave of backlash and debate inside the film industry. On one side, critics argued that AI-generated films threaten human creatives and could flood screens with cheap content. On the other, supporters say blocking an award-winning short purely because it used AI is a form of censorship and a disservice to audiences who want to see what new tools can do artistically. Put that together with the MPA's legal letter, and you get a clear theme. Traditional media is moving from vague concern about AI to concrete policy, both in the courts and in distribution. And platform companies outside Hollywood are struggling with AI in their own ways. Mashable Tech News published a piece on February 21st, 2026 about Pinterest's ongoing AI troubles. According to Mashable, Pinterest has leaned hard into AI, from recommendations to labeling and moderation, but many users are unhappy with the results. People report that AI-generated slop is flooding their feeds, low-quality, repetitive images and content they never asked for. At the same time, Pinterest's AI moderation and labeling systems are reportedly misfiring, wrongly tagging legitimate content, and even banning some user accounts. So while Hollywood is worried about AI overstepping on copyright and creativity, Pinterest users are dealing with AI overstepping on curation and moderation. Both are examples of how once AI is deeply integrated into your product, its failures become very visible, very fast. Now, let's zoom out and talk about AI's impact on work, robots, and the real economy. A new research paper hit Arxiv and was picked up on Hacker News' AI Topics on February 21st, 2026. It's titled Payrolls to Prompts, Firm-Level Evidence on the Substitution of Labor for AI, and you can find it on Arxiv at the link in the description. While the Hacker News entry only links to the paper and a short discussion, the title alone tells you what's going on. Researchers are looking at firm-level data to see how companies are substituting traditional payroll human workers with AI systems and prompt-driven workflows. This is the kind of study policymakers and economists have been waiting for, not just theoretical models, but actual evidence of how businesses are reorganizing around AI. Are they cutting headcount? Are they redeploying workers to higher value tasks? Are certain job categories disappearing faster than others? We don't have time here to go line by line through the methodology, but the fact that this is now being measured at the firm level is a major shift. It ties directly into the stories we've already covered. Engineers giving AI tools more autonomy at AWS, attackers using AI to scale up hacking, studios worrying about AI replacing aspects of film production, and platforms like Pinterest struggling with AI-driven automation. And automation isn't just in software. From TechNode, on February 21st, 2026, we have a fascinating update on physical robots. Techno reports that Unitree Robotics founder Wang Xingxing says current robotics capability is roughly comparable to that of a 10-year-old child, not in terms of full human intelligence, of course, but in practical capability. Things like movement, balance, basic perception, and simple decision-making in constrained environments. Wang also predicts that large-scale commercial adoption of these robots is 3 to 5 years away, and at most a decade. He points to key bottlenecks still holding robots back, especially limited generalization, robots that can handle a wide range of unstructured, real-world situations, not just one carefully controlled task. So while software AI is already displacing or reshaping white-collar work, robotics companies are saying, get ready because physical labor is next. That makes studies like Payrolls to prompts even more urgent. Today, we're substituting office tasks with prompts. Tomorrow, we might be substituting warehouse, delivery, and even home care tasks with bipedal machines. Now, let's jump to OpenAI and what might be the next wave of AI hardware. Unwire.hk ran another story on February 21st, 2026, reporting that OpenAI is collaborating with legendary former Apple design chief Jony Ive on a line of AI hardware devices. According to Unwire, the first product is expected to be a smart speaker with a built-in video camera, potentially launching as early as February 2027. The rumored price range is about $200 to $300. The ambition, according to the report, is big. They're not just making another smart speaker. The goal is to create a next-generation personal device that could change daily habits the way the iPhone did. If this reporting is accurate, it would mean OpenAI is trying to move from being just an AI service provider, an API, or an app, to owning the physical interface in your home. Combined with Jony Ive's design sensibilities, you can imagine something much more conversational, context-aware, and camera-driven than today's smart speakers. But remember everything we've already covered: AI-assisted cyber attacks, content moderation headaches, safety concerns around violent prompts, Hollywood's copyright battles. Putting a powerful AI with a camera and microphone in your living room raises major questions. How is the data handled? What content can it generate or display? How are harmful behaviors detected and escalated? These are not hypothetical anymore. Finally, let's end on a more technical but very important development for AI builders and developers. From GitHub, via Hacker News' AI Topics. On February 21st, 2026, we have CacheOverflow, an open source project described as a shared MCP layer to reduce LLM coding hallucinations and costs. MCP here refers to the Model Context Protocol, a way of connecting large language models to external tools and data. CacheOverflow's idea is to create a shared layer where results and context can be reused across coding sessions and even across users so that LLMs don't have to re-hallucinate or re-compute the same answers over and over. In practice, that could mean if the model has already figured out the correct way to use a particular API or the right snippet for a common task, that knowledge gets cached in a structured way and reused. The goals are to reduce hallucinated code, improve reliability for developers, and lower inference costs. This ties back neatly to several of today's stories. AI coding tools like AWS's Kiro, research on labor being replaced by AI systems, and the broader push to make AI not just powerful, but trustworthy and predictable. As more companies lean on AI for mission-critical tasks, projects like CacheOverflow are tackling the nitty-gritty engineering needed to keep these systems sane and affordable. So, stepping back, what's the big picture from today's news? We're seeing AI move from novelty to infrastructure, and that cuts in every direction. On the security front, Sleeping Computers report on AI-assisted breaches and the AWS Kiro controversy from Unwire, HK show that AI can both defend and attack, and that misconfigurations or over-trusting AI tools can have massive real-world consequences. On the safety and ethics side, The Verge's coverage of the Tumbler Ridge case highlights just how hard it is for companies like OpenAI to decide when user behavior in a chat window becomes a matter for law enforcement. On the cultural and legal front, Unwire, HK's stories about the MPA's cease and desist to ByteDance over Seedance 2, and AMC's refusal to show an AI-generated short film, show creative industries moving from anxiety to action, using legal tools and distribution power to push back on generative AI. On the platform side, Mashable's reporting on Pinterest shows that just adding AI doesn't automatically make products better. It can flood users with unwanted content and mismoderate communities if not carefully controlled. In the economy and robotics, the Payrolls to Prompts paper on Arxiv and Techno's interview with Unitree's founder suggests that both digital and physical labor are on the cusp of large-scale transformation. We are already measuring how firms swap workers for AI, and robot makers are predicting mainstream deployment within a decade. On the product side, Unwire HK's report on OpenAI and Jony Ive points toward a future where AI is not just an app, but a dedicated device in your home, raising huge questions about design, privacy, and daily reliance on machine intelligence. And underneath it all, tools like CacheOverflow on GitHub show the developer ecosystem racing to make AI more reliable, less hallucinatory, and cheaper to run. The plumbing that will determine whether AI can safely scale further. If you want to dive deeper, check out the original sources, Bleeping Computer and Hacker News for the FortiGate breach, The Verge and the Wall Street Journal for the Tumbler Ridge story, RXIV for Payrolls to Prompts, Unwire HK for the OpenAI hardware, AWS Kiro MPA versus Seedance, and AMC's AI film decision, Mashable for Pinterest AI struggles, TechNode for the Unitree robotics interview, and the CacheOverflow project on GitHub. That's it for today's AI News Roundup for February 22nd, 2026. If you found this useful and want more daily AI breakdowns without the hype, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. Thanks for watching Now Might Go, and I'll see you in the next one.